Hey, this is Ren Smith, and this is Shoresides. Coastal North Carolina and tobacco farming go back a long way, at least 3 centuries. It was traditionally hand-picked leaf by leaf. Then were strung on sticks and hung in wooden barns over wood fires. Today at the NC State Fair in Wake County, they'll be celebrating that with a unique tradition. It's called tobacco stringing. We found someone who could tell us all about it.
My name is Pat Short. I am the Heritage Circle Superintendent here at the fair, and I'm the tobacco barn coordinator. And I've been running the tobacco barn since Commissioner Troxler got it started back in 2005. North Carolina Commissioner Steve Troxler came up with the idea he rebuilt the old barn here. They'd never done anything with it before. He rebuilt the old barn and had us bring down tobacco from Oxford Tobacco Research Station, where I was working at the time, and had us fill the barn up. And we cured it out there in the fair and let folks see the old time way we've been doing it ever since. So this will be our 21st year doing it.
This is Shoresides, where we tell stories about coastal North Carolina.
The first year that we did it, we just had an old county barn filling. We all came in and everybody jumped in there and filled the barn. And then we decided after that we should start having a contest to see who could string the best stick of tobacco. And even though we do time it, we check everybody's time on it, that most of the score is basically based on quality. The only reason we ever use time is if there's a tie in quality. We think it's very important to be able to string a high quality stick of tobacco, because it was very important in the day when we used to fill these barns for a living, when this is all we had with these old barns. You had to bring it right and put it in there, because you didn't want it to fall down, because it caused a fire and burn the barn down, which would be a catastrophe for any family. And so it's got to be done right. And so we started doing that in '06, and we've been doing it ever since. And we have about usually anywhere from 10 to 20 teams. A team consists of one stringer and two handers. And the stringer the handers will take the tobacco from the sled, put it into bundles of 3 to 4 leaves. Grandpa always said 3 big ones or 4 little ones. And he'd hold it out, and the stringer would grab it, and he would string it. She would string it. Most of the time it's a she will string it on the stick. And you only put about 34 bundles on the stick is a good amount. That's part of the quality. You have to be within a certain number of bundles on the stick. You don't want too many, it won't cure. But you do want enough so you'll have a good amount of tobacco. And we always do that the first Friday at the fair at 2 o'clock. We have the stringing contest, and we always have a big crowd. It's a pretty fun event, and we always have real good participation. We pull our flue-cured tobacco usually about 4 times, something like that. Some don't pull as many, but anyway, when you go along with the leaves get yellow from the bottom up, and when the leaves get yellow, we pull the leaves off, we bring them into the barn. Used to, we brought them in on a sled. Nowadays they have trailers and things, everything's a lot different, but in the old days, we bring it in on a sled, bring it into the barn, normally under a big shade tree, big oak tree somewhere, and then we string it on the stick, and then we put it in the barn. And once it goes in the barn and you get the barn full, you start the barn out at somewhere around like 85 degrees. Maybe you want to be about 5 to 10 degrees higher than you are outside. And you start to break the leaf down. It starts to yellow the leaf. And you go into the whole curing process, which is about a 7-day curing process. You yellow it for about 3 days. And then you go up to your easing the heat up just a little bit all the time. Then you get up to about 120 degrees and start drying it. And then you dry it, go up to about 145, and then when you get it dry for about 2 days, and then you run it up to about 165, and you cure it on out, what we call kill it out. You dry the stem out, that will finish it out. I think they started filling these barns, I think it was around the early probably around the 1800s that they started filling these barns. And when they started filling them, then there was a farm in Castle County that they discovered this curing process. They used to just dry tobacco up. They would just pull a fire under it, just dry it up completely. And then what happened, they had a man up there in Castle County, his helper fell asleep, and he let the fire go out, but he wasn't drying the tobacco. And then when he woke up, he built up a big fire and he dried it out. They found out that he yellowed it out and made a much better quality. It allowed the sugars and starches to rise in the leaves, and it cured it out. And so I would say that process started around 1840, something like that. And that went on to somewhere around 1860 or so. And then we stopped using the barns, then we started using bulk barns at that time. And then we still use the same curing process, but it's just a much different method that we do now, because we use the big bulk barns and everything, because it's all about the production. We get so much more in a bulk barn. So it's been around a long time. Grandpa always said that a good stringer can string a stick a minute. So in the old days when we were filling tobacco back in the different county where I'm from, if you could string a stick a minute, you were doing good. And I know there's some ladies here that can do it a little faster than that. I think they've done some in 52 seconds, 55 seconds, but if you can do it per minute, you're keeping up real good. We've seen a few different styles here at the stringing contest. I think the main thing is the terminology. We call it stringing where I'm from in Piedmont, North Carolina. Down east they call it looping. We call it a sled, they call it they call it a drag. In the southern Guilford County in 1957, and I was raised on my grandfather's tobacco farm. And so when I grew up, when I walked out the door, there was tobacco and there was farming. And we did a lot of stringing. You know, when I was a kid, I would jump on the back of the sleds and ride before I was old enough to do anything. But then when I did get old enough to where I could work, my job was to bring the sticks around and keep the sticks to the stringer. That was my job, to keep the sticks to the stringer. And then once I got old enough that after I could handle a stick, I would take the stick off. But then after I got done doing that, my job was, after I got old enough, after I was 12 years old, I would go to the field. Yeah, I would go to the field after that. So that's how I learned. I just learned hands on my grandfather's farm. Like I say, everybody's in the same category of stringers. They all get in there to string. I don't string. I'm just kind of I kind of run the show. I MC the show. But what they do is we have a set of rules that you want, like I say, you want 3 big leaves or 4 little leaves, and you want about 36 bundles on the stick, and it's got to be neat. Your butts have to be even. In other words, the leaves have to be all lined up evenly, and it makes a really nice, neat looking stick. And then we get to the end, we shake it real good, and because if leaves fall out, they knock points off for that, because it's very important that when you get in the barn that you don't have leaves falling off.
This is Shoresides. Thanks for listening.
Thanks to Pat Short, the North Carolina State Fair, and the North Carolina Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services. Learn more about Shoresides at shoresides.org.